Teacher for Inclusion here. I'm Sheila Keeter, and today I'm going to go over the top 5 books that I have found to be the most engaging in my middle school classroom, which is an 8th grade classroom. The first one, let me preface this actually by stating that these were the top 5 that students kept coming back and asking to borrow even after we had finished reading them. So this is boys and girls. And so I put them all kind of together, which ones got the most attention and engagement. So the first one is Ghost Boys by Jewel Parker Rhodes. And this is a book, it's a very heavy book about a young boy who's killed, a young innocent boy who's killed by a police officer who thinks that he is using a gun and it is a toy gun. And I'm going to quickly read the very beginning of this because you just cannot not read the very beginning of this. How small I look, laid out flat, my stomach touching ground, my right knee bent, and my brand new Nike stained with blood. I stoop and stare at my face. My right cheek flattened on the concrete. My eyes are wide open. My mouth too. I'm dead. I thought I was bigger, tough, but I'm just a bit of nothing. My arms are outstretched like I was trying to fly like Superman. I'd barely turned, sprinting. Pow, pow. 2 bullets. Legs gave way. I fell flat, hard. I hit snowy ground. So what I love about this book, and how it pertains to today's times. When I finished this book last year with my students, George Floyd had just been murdered, and my students decided to do a peaceful protest project that went beautifully with the book. But what I like about the book is that it's not just about justice, it's also about healing. And the main character, Jerome, he follows the leader of the Ghost Boys, who is Emmett Till. So the students learn a lot about African-American history, and they learn about Emmett Till. But the main character meets the officer's daughter, and they heal together. And it's a beautiful book. It's very serious. We take it seriously. It's very purposeful. And I recommend that every 8th grade classroom, a little bit, 7th grade, I think would be a little bit too soon because it's a little bit gory, especially learning about Emmett Till, but every 8th grader should read Ghost Boys by the time they're in 8th grade. All right, the next one is also a little bit heavy. It's the 57 Bus. It's about Sasha, who is an agender teen, a teen who has decided not to claim themselves as a boy or a girl. And in the beginning, Sasha is on a bus, a public bus, and there are some boys that are messing around. Sasha looks male and is wearing a female skirt. And so there are some boys that are playing around with a lighter, and they kept flicking it, and eventually the skirt goes up in flames because it is a tweed skirt. The boys jump off, and Sasha goes through this horrific 3rd-degree burn experience, and thankfully pulls through. This is a true story that happened in Oakland, California. And the big controversy is that Richard, the boy who lit Sasha's skirt on fire, is being charged as an adult and is being charged for a hate crime. And so we have a lot of discussion based around those topics. Hey Kiddo, this is a book by Jarek Kraska. It just warms my heart. It's about a young boy who has to go live with his grandparents because his mother is riddled with a heroin addiction. And it shows really, instead of the perspective of the addict, it shows how it hurts and harms and is painful for those who are around the addict. And what I love about it is that this young boy who has a history of ancestors, multiple ancestors having either drug, alcohol abuse problems, he decides, or he draws as an outlet. And what's great about it is at the end, we find out that the author himself is the one who created the book, and it's his story. It's a true story, but it's a story of healing pain, and also a story of hope and how the cycle can be broken, the cycle of addiction. The next one is New Kid, and this is a lighthearted, I don't like to do too many serious novels. This is a little bit more lighthearted and fun. It's a shorter read because it is a graphic novel. It has really fun graphics in it. And it's a story about a boy named Jordan who's going through middle school, and he's dealing with all the typical things that middle school students deal with, but he has an additional layer of what he has to deal with. He's an African-American boy who's going to an almost all white private school. And there's not like a vicious racism element to it so much as there is just these prejudgments that people have of who he is and what he does and what he's going to like because he's African American. And an example of that would be the PE coach who meets Jordan and says, "Oh, I bet you can run." And then the coach says, "Oh, I didn't mean because, well, I believe everybody's equal. I truly believe that, Jordan." So it shows how, and it's these awkward moments that he has and that other people have with some of the other few and far between African-American characters that are in the book, but it shows how they have to deal with this persistently on a regular basis, just these awkward occurrences. Okay, and then the last one I want to talk about is Rebound by Kwame Alexander. And this is the second book in his well, it's not necessarily a series, but he wrote the crossover first and then Rebound. Rebound is about a boy who is in middle school and he's struggling to find his way. He has lost his father and his mother's raising him. She's at her wit's end. And so she ends up sending him to his grandparents to grow up and find his way, find his smile. And the fun thing is that he does find confidence, and he finds his sport, which is basketball, and he does find his smile in the end. What I love about Kwame Alexander is you could almost teach every single standard using his poetry alone. It's such a fun read, and it's a different way of reading and seeing poetry for students. They can see it in a fun and different light, and it's just an amazing, really fun read that you can do with your students. So let me quickly recap. That's Ghost Boys by Jewel Parker Rhodes, The 57 Bus by Dashka Slater, Hey Kiddo by Jarrett Krasowska, New Kid by Jerry Kraft, and Rebound by Kwame Alexander. I also have lessons for each of these in my Teachers Pay Teachers store, which is Teacher for Inclusion. I hope you had fun hearing about these, and I really, truly hope that you use these in your classroom because your students will love them and you will have a blast teaching them. Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for listening.